Hey guys, Drifter here. Today's Apex Legends video is 100% opinion, and it's going to be a controversial one at that. As you can tell by the title and thumbnail, I believe that PlayStation 4 is actually harder than PC when it comes to Apex Legends, and I can already see people clicking that dislike and leaving their angry comments, but just bear with me just a moment. I think that this commentary is going to surprise you. If you watch my Apex Legends content, then you know it's pretty evenly split between PS4 and PC. I think I'm level 65 on PC and about level 44 maybe on PlayStation 4, so my time isn't exactly 50-50, but I am playing plenty of both systems. You've also probably seen me say several times over that the PlayStation 4 is harder to win at and perform well in than it is on PC, and I've kind of had a hard time expressing my full thoughts in like a YouTube comment in a way where people can read it, so I thought it'd be a fun compare-contrast topic. And let's start off by talking about the game itself. Apex Legends is first and foremost a shooting game. It's not a building game like Fortnite or a positioning game like PUBG or Blackout for Call of Duty. It is truly a shooter. It's also a hyper-mobility type shooter. It's only missing wall runs and jetpacks, but you have grapple hooks and no fall damage, and you've got zip lines, and you've got booster balloons and all sorts of stuff. So this game allows you to run and slide and jump and reposition really, really faster. And honestly, I think this makes the shooting element of it better and that much more skillful, because the guy on the top of the hill just doesn't automatically win. And many of you would rightly assume that playing on PC is better from a control standpoint, and once again, you are correct. The PC version of this game has much better controls. The game was clearly designed with PC in mind, and I think the PC controls are objectively superior. It's kind of hard to argue against that. You have mouse aiming, which is very, very precise. You can see what pros like Shroud and Dizzy and Mendo do with mouse aim. You've got mouse keybinds for a whole variety of actions if you don't want to do it on the keyboard, and just more buttons on the keyboard to make choices easier. And you can do things without having to take your hand off the thumbstick. There's a lot more buttons you can hit, and just generally better controller choices. So on PC, because of this ability that PC players have, it's very common to see them just go balls out trying to slay everyone. They are not limited by control schemes. They are not limited by aim. They are not limited by fiddling with the D-pad or trying to hit triangle. They can just do it almost instantly. That's why when you're playing on PC, you'll see that most teams prefer to be hyper-aggressive and try to rack up kills, and when a PC team gets a win, it's almost always a big gunfight at the end. It'll be like a couple teams left in a relatively big circle compared to console, and everybody's going to come out with wingmans and Spitfires, and they're going to have really good accuracy, and it's going to be a really sweaty, crazy fight. And you would say, okay, Drifter, well then this sounds the opposite of your point. How is that not harder than playing on console? Well, I'm getting there. Console players are not on the same page about this strategy of aggression pays off. They are not all about going out and slaying everyone, and as a matter of fact, you have a lot more playstyle variety on console than you do on PC. And the reason for this is that the Xbox and PS4 controllers really do struggle to keep up with the amount of buttons required to play this game. If you look at Apex Legends, of course, you've got your sticks to move and aim and your triggers, but then you've got the grenades and the heals, and you're working the D-pad for those, and you need to slide and jump and spin and swap weapons and do a lot of different stuff all at the same time and loot, and that's very difficult to do on a controller. Now personally, I play on a SCUF controller, and that makes it a lot easier for me. I know some of you don't have that, and some of you will play claw, but a lot of you on regular controllers, I know that this is challenging, and I know a lot of the things you see me do are very, very challenging. And on top of that, aiming with the sticks is just not as precise or as fast as my mouse aim. I know there's prodigies out there, and I know there's people way better than me and people that have great aim, and it's not like it's the worst thing in the world, but you know, the mouse is just better. It's simpler. So overall, PlayStation 4 or Xbox players do not have the same ease of play or maximum skill cap ceiling, maximum skill ceiling that a PC player would have, just because the inputs are better. And this is not to say that PlayStation players are bad. Actually, the opposite is true, I think. Rather, their hardware caps their ability, so that forces changes in the gameplay, which is my main point of today's video. With more limited controls, PlayStation 4 players are forced to play smarter smarter instead of harder. They can't slide down a hill, change weapons, jump on a zipline, reverse directions on the zipline, change weapons again, quickscope, and throw a grenade nearly as easily as a PC player can do it because their controls are more limited. So console players tend to take into consideration a lot more other things about positioning for high ground, in cover. They take their stealth, their awareness into position much more, ultimate setups and combos. They pay a lot more attention to the zone than PC players and where the zone is going to push them, especially at the end of the game. And you will see console players throwing down a lot more defensive tactics. A lot of players, at least on PlayStation 4, will wait until the very last few circles and try and fight you as the storm squeezes you so that you're very badly disadvantaged to the storm with the storm to your back. And that's a good strategy. I'd recommend that on any system, but on PC it's going to be a huge circle and people are just going to try to kill each other. And they do these more defensive or more punishing strategies, not just in late game, but in early game as well. Early game you'll see a lot more caustic traps, a lot more bloodhounds hunting people, a lot more Gibraltars doing their abilities to kind of muck things up. And the objective of most players, at least on PlayStation 4, is to force you to fight on their terms or to force you to make a mistake from which you can't recover. And that is a really, really brutal thing to deal with sometimes. And that's not to say that all teams on console are a bunch of defensive campers that sit behind caustic tracks. There are plenty of groups that go slay out of their minds and play hyper-aggressive. There's plenty of that, but the split's not quite the same. In a normal PC lobby, you'd be looking at almost everyone just slaying out of their minds. On a console lobby, you've probably got about a third of the players slaying, trying to kill as much as they can, and about 2/3 of them trying to force you to make a mistake. And that's not just camping, that's just teams playing smart. They're kind of like picking at you and pulling you apart like a crab instead of just going balls out like a shark. And because of this, the last circles on PlayStation 4 are always brutal, tooth and nail, knockdown, drag-out fights that you win by inches. Most of the time in the final tiny little circle, there's going to be 3, maybe 4 teams up, and they're all going to come out and fight in this nasty little fight, and it's going to be ugly. A lot of ultimates are going to be thrown, and it's just not like on PC. On PC, it'll be a much bigger circle, and people just come out, you know, wingmans a-flying and just go for the win, and that's it. And because of this, I personally find it harder to get wins on console than on PC. I'm not the world's greatest PC player. You guys probably see me. I'm no Shroud, right? But I feel that the extra ability that I get to play makes it easier for me to slay and outslay a fair number of people on PC so that killing a person or a group isn't like the hardest thing, and I can get wins that way. Such is not the case on PlayStation 4. The ability to murder is lower, but it's also sort of a flatter skill ceiling kind of across the board. So I have to play smarter, I have to play harder, and I have to use much cheesier strategies in order to squeeze out my wins. And that is my opinion about why console Apex Legends is so much harder to play than PC. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I hope you learned something useful. I hope this nuanced commentary has at least been entertaining. If it has been any of those things, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.